All right, so let's talk. So again, the lesson today started with a question. You know, trying to put you in the shoes of the people that you're learning about, right? And so, do you remember what your initial thoughts were about how to solve the problem?
Yeah, first I thought that they should divide it because, like someone said today, I felt that it would be better than like one part lives the way they want to and the other part does, but it kind of changed a little bit today.
Mm-hmm. What changed for you?
I was starting to think that maybe they should all live in one nation, even though it would be like maybe more tension at first. Like eventually, I think it would help them like learn to live together and like adapt each other's customs and things like that.
Mm-hmm. So they would do it. Okay. It's pretty directional, right? To point it more at your mouth. Is that okay? If she zips up a little bit, would that help? Or? Okay. Oh, that's good. So, can you hear her better?
Yeah, right in your microphone.
Should we switch? We can switch.
Yeah, that's good. We're gonna go ahead and switch. Actually, yeah.
I wonder what is the problem about this. Technical difficulties. Have you ever had a microphone on you before?
No.
Yeah, that was the first time.
Yeah.
It's like being on the news.
Yeah. Jody Ann Maxwell.
Okay, you can hear much better? Oh, you can hear me too? Okay, good. All right, should we start over? Okay, so if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you that question again. Okay, so my question was, when you first came into the room, Ms. Severino had a question about what would you do to solve the problem? And so what were your thoughts?
At first I thought that they should like divide the country because like let each group do what they would want to do, but today I kind of thought that maybe they should try like living under one nation so they could adopt each other's customs and like get to know how each other, how they view their how they view the opposites, like how the way they live, their traditions, and maybe they can get to understand and come to like an agreement about the conflict that they have.
What made you change your mind?
I don't know, like usually we had studied other countries and like it usually happens where they have to be cut up because they have to be divided because there's always tensions between them, but then I was thinking if they would do something out of the ordinary, like they usually always resort to splitting the country in half, but I was saying if they were to try letting them all live with each other, I just want to see how that would go. Maybe that would cause more peace instead of tension.
Right. Do you think that transition would go smoothly?
No, not. I think it would take a lot of time for it because people that have been living there already have built up anger and like they already don't see eye to eye. So, and they're even training the youth to be the same way. So I don't think that it would be off the bat smooth, but I think that eventually it would start to smooth out.
Okay. It might be complicated, I would imagine, too, because you have different opinions within each group about what should be done, right? Yeah. Okay, well, we'll come back to that question when we get to the end. I think it's important we talk about it. So, in class, then, you guys went through the PowerPoint and saw lots of cartoons. Do any of those cartoons stick in your mind?
Yeah, the cartoon where the knife said sneak attack, Arab sneak attack or something like that, and it was on Yom Kippur, which is the Jewish' holy day. Right. And they were praying as I guess the Arabs were planning to sneak an attack on them or something. That one stuck in my mind.
Yeah. What about that resonated with you? What it made you think of?
It made me think of like, I don't know, it's like even the tensions are so bad that even on another country's day of prayer and fasting and like peace for themselves and their culture, the opposing country is still, even on that day, doesn't have any remorse, I guess.
Right.
Like, so it's like almost on someone's birthday. You try to avoid conflict with them, or, you know, try to avoid anything that would cause any tension. But I guess even on that day, the tension between them like have grown over the years so much that nothing can stop them from going head to head, not even their holiday.
Right. Did Miss Severino say where that cartoon came from? I don't remember.
No, I don't remember.
Yeah, okay. What about the other cartoon? There were a couple, but there was the one where it was the hands were shaking, and then they were attached to someone with explosives. What do you remember? What you thought a good title for that cartoon would be?
I tried, but I didn't think of a. I just thought of. I agreed with one of my classmates who said a piece is blown out of hand or something like that.
You like that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it works. It works for you for the way the words kind of match what happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like there were quite a few examples through history of specific things. Let's see. So there was like the Olympics, right? The PLO at the Olympics, the 1967 war, the 73 war, right? But then it looks like afterwards things changed, right? They tried to, more and more efforts were made to resolve the differences and the conflict. What do you remember of the presentation that Ms. Severino did on those?
Oh, the countries?
About the different efforts to bring peace between Israel and its neighbors.
Well, when Egypt, the one with Egypt and I think their prime minister or their president,
Nasser,
and they were like, I guess, coming together trying to form some kind of agreement so that they could like have more peaceful lives. That one, I guess, I don't know. When I saw that one, I just basically thought maybe it would like be the first stepping stone towards like more peaceful nation between them. But as Ms. Severino said, it was like when you take one step forward, eventually something goes bad, because I think an extremist from the opposite group, or from the same group, I think wasn't happy with how they were trying to cause peace.
Right.
So they assassinated their president. So it just reminded me that it's like the peace wouldn't last. And I think it goes back to the other cartoon with the peace and the bomb, that eventually like it would be peaceful at one point, but it wouldn't be forever.
Right. Is that a theme that you guys have seen in other things you've studied, or do you think that's unique to this situation here?
Yeah, I think that's more like this situation is interesting. The fact that the peace is, it's never steady.
Right. So then, let me think, what else I want to ask you. So now that you've kind of learned about this whole process, do you have more questions?
No, I actually don't. Like, I felt well informed today about everything. I just want to know how, at the end, it was interesting to learn about the countries today, like how they're doing today, and basically what their status is today in each of the sides. So that one was more interesting to me at the end, just to find out that today things are still going on, and the youth are being more involved in it. And we've seen that throughout history in this class too, that the youth are like they have a big impact on the troubles between the nations, because it's like they're bringing up them in their way. So if even the youth are like the new generation can't even break out from the conflict that had been going on for years. So learning about like what's going on today still, that was interesting to me.
Right. Is today the last time you're going to talk about this, or will you come back to it later, do you think?
I think we'll come back to it later.
Okay. So, do you feel like Ms. Severino gave you a really kind of full picture of the thing, or do you think that there are other sides to the story that
I think she gave a full picture, because the way she was talking, she also sounded like more of an advocate for peace for both of them. Like we were relating how one group would feel, obviously, like when the Israelis, they kept winning all the wars despite all the attacks that were thrown at them because of the allies that they had. So I think she was trying to give us it made me feel like in the other group side, like they would feel bad, they would feel they wanted the resources, they wanted more land, and one group seemed to be getting everything. So I could understand how the other group would build up anger, but at the same time, it's like I wouldn't want anything bad to happen to the other nation. So I think she was also speaking like she was supporting peace between the nation on a whole.
Right. That's good. Did you find any of that confusing, like any of the material that you kind of went over today? I mean, you learned a lot today. You went through like several decades of history, wars, attempted peace agreements and stuff. Was there anything that like didn't seem to totally clear to you or anything? Or something that you wish you could have studied a little bit longer, maybe?
I think the peace agreements.
Yeah.
I would want to clear that up a little bit more. Yeah. But everything else other than that, I pretty much got.
Yeah. What do you remember? What about the peace agreements? Like, what? There were two, right? There was 1978 in Camp David with Jimmy Carter. That's when Egypt and Israel had their accord, and then there was Oslo in '93, right? Was that '93? Yeah, with Rabin and Arafat. Rabin from Israel and Arafat from the PLO, and there were some. Do you remember anything that you would like to study more about those, or?
Yeah, I just want to know like how, like just go into more detail, like maybe explain it like a little slower and step by step.
Right.
So
yeah, they're very controversial and complicated. You know, obviously with the assassinations afterwards, they were controversial within the countries that they came from, and there was, I think, a lot. Even though the United States hosted them, there was even conflict here about our involvement. So, yeah, I agree with you about that. So then, like the final phase of the history that we studied, you know, there's the modern population of Israel, the modern population of Palestine, settlements, fences, a war or two. You know, there's all this other stuff. So. Now that you know all this history, you have this perspective going back from the Romans through the present. What do you think? What do you think that the future brings?
Honestly, I kind of think that like I would wish for peace, but at this point, I kind of thought that like the more the U.S. got involved, it seemed like they were almost being dragged into the conflict with them. So I just think, I don't know, it's like I don't think that they should withdraw completely, and you know the nation shouldn't try to step in, and like world leaders shouldn't try to bring up peace between the nations. But at this point I kind of think that they've already gained such a big conflict between each other that like the years just built up more. Like it's almost like you can't take it back now. You can try to like make efforts for peace, but it might not be that effective because of how long the tensions have been going on.
Right. What side do you think the United States should take, do you think?
I think maybe that they've supported the Israelis like a lot, and anytime the countries that we studied in the past, like when they have allies, including the U.S., they have like a lot of they get a better piece of the pie, basically. So I think that maybe if the Arabs or that side would get a little bit more, I think it's because they're more aggressive with the situation and with the attacks, but I think it's because they feel that having the U.S. as an ally to the other side, they have enough support, and that's why they continue to win. So I think maybe if their allies were to build up and be maybe as strong as the other sides, or if they were to get an ally that would to support them as much as the U.S. did to the Israelis, that they would, I don't know, I think the outcomes would be different. Like, I don't think they would cause as much tension and try to, like, you know, attack the other side as much as they've been doing.
It would be a little bit more even.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. So, did you like learning about this subject?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why?
Because I really, it's like, it's so, evident. Like another student was saying that in her neighborhood now, the Muslims or the Arabs across the street and the Israelis across the street, the Jewish people across the street, even now there's tensions between them.
Right.
And like they'll give each other dirty looks and things like that. They don't send their kids to the same school and things like that. So I think that it was interesting to see how the tensions are still like rising today, and they seem not to be going anywhere. And I think a lot of people wish for peace, but I don't know, I just think that it was just a tough situation.
Right.
Like I think being that it's kind of surrounding us today, that it was needed because I didn't understand it that much from before.
I see.
So I think I enjoyed learning about it, like, and to see why certain groups don't get along and what exactly happened from the start to the end, and
Right.
to see that's why certain things happen today between those two groups.
Right. So would you recommend this lesson to be taught next year?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
What would you tell a student next year to think about if they were coming into this fresh?
I would tell them to have an open mind towards both sides, because like it's easier to maybe say, like in our homework, one of the questions was to choose which side had a more legitimate claim, and at one point I chose the Israelis because I thought they had stated that since the Bible days,
Right.
biblical days, that they were owed the territory, like it was originally theirs. So usually it's like everything in the Bible is right and things like that. So that's why I went towards their side. But as I think about it now, like the lesson completely changed my whole mindset towards the situation, because it made me think like it's not as easy to choose sides with this situation as you would think. So it kind of opened my mind up, like even though, since biblical days this is said about the Israelis, the Arabs also have been, they felt they were owed a lot of things, and it was like you would have to have an open mind and try to appeal to both sides and try not to pick sides. I basically tell them to try to not be narrow-minded with any side.
Great. Okay. Is there anything you'd change about how this unit was taught?
I think I wish we could have went a tiny bit slower.
Yeah.
Like maybe, because it was, like you said, it was a fast lesson. It was like a lot of information packed into one period. So I wish we could spend one more day on it, or a couple more days talking about the basics of it.
Right.
So it would be easier for someone who didn't originally understand it to understand it. But it was a good lesson. I just maybe wish we could have gone a tiny bit slower.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. What about discussion with your classmates? Do you think you could have had more of those or anything? Would that have helped you, do you think?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Even though it was a good lesson, like I said, but
Yeah.
I think maybe if we had went around the room or something, got every single person's opinion, that would have been a good way to open up people's minds and to let each person see, another mindset and how another person thinks about the two groups and everything. So I think maybe if everyone the class got a chance to speak, that would have been good too.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that goes to your idea that more perspectives are needed for these kinds of situations.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. I think that's about it. All right. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah.
Sure.
How is it gonna be, at the college, how is it gonna be presented,
Well, that's a good question, because I think the other guys are the ones who will be making these into kind of case studies about each class. So Ms. Severino is one of a couple of teachers that they're focusing on, and this lesson happens to be the example. And so they've done an interview with her about what she plans to do. We videotaped yesterday and today and stuff, and then they're doing interviews with her after each day and a follow-up to kind of go over what happened and how she felt about it. Okay. And then you guys are the other side, right? Because you're perceiving all the things she's trying to get you to know, and so it's about the relationship between you and her as in terms of how you're able to learn this material and what helps, what sticks in your mind, what made you think. So after she talks about it, then you guys talk about it. We'll put it all together somehow. It'll be on a website, so students who are studying to become social studies teachers like her will be able to then see how all her planning and all the strategies she used to teach you, then how that has an impact on students.
Okay.
So that's, I don't know, that's sort of abstract. I know it's not the most concrete thing, but it's all going to be available for students to watch so they can see what you guys think.
Okay.
So, thank you very much.
You're
You did great. Your answers